You wake up in a cell you don't recognize as a cell. The bars are invisible. The walls are made of debt, dependency, and digital surveillance. The guards wear suits and carry spreadsheets instead of weapons, and most inmates believe they're free. Over the past century, a global control structure has been methodically constructed that makes genuine independence nearly impossible. Every convenience has become a chain. Every efficiency has become a dependency. Every technology has become a tracking device. The old model of control was obvious. Kings owned land, masters owned slaves, rulers used violence. People could see their oppression and fight it. The new model is invisible. Nobody owns you directly, but everyone profits from your dependence. Nobody forces compliance, but non-compliance becomes economically impossible. Every choice has been predetermined by systems designed to extract value from your life. You can't opt out because there's nowhere to opt out to. The alternatives have been systematically eliminated. The skills forgotten, the infrastructure dismantled, the laws changed. This is how freedom became the illusion of choice. How independence became a luxury only the wealthy can afford. And how a global prison was built so sophisticated that inmates defend the system that enslaves them. Let me show you the 5 interlocking mechanisms that make escape nearly impossible. Once you see them, you'll understand why breaking free requires more than individual action. It requires recognizing the system for what it is and building alternatives before it's too late. The financial chain, debt as social control. The foundation of the global prison is debt. Not just any debt, but specifically designed debt that transforms citizens into economic slaves who must work continuously to service obligations they can never fully repay. The mortgage trap. The 30-year mortgage transforms homeownership into 30 years of guaranteed labor for financial institutions. 30 years. The buyer pays $518,000, almost double the price. Banks create this money from nothing, but buyers earn real money through labor to repay it. The credit score leash. Credit scores transform financial behavior into social control. Every transaction is monitored and affects access to housing, employment, and insurance. The system requires continuous debt participation. Paying cash actually lowers your score because it shows you don't need credit. Credit scores enable behavior modification. People change spending patterns to maintain scores rather than making economically rational decisions. Late payments or suspicious patterns destroy credit instantly. The student loan prison. Student loans cannot be discharged in bankruptcy, creating permanent debtors. The system creates artificial scarcity of jobs requiring degrees, then makes education require massive borrowing. Debt forces graduates to accept any employment rather than entrepreneurship. Student debt consumes 10 to 15% of lifetime earnings and creates learned helplessness. Young adults begin careers already accepting debt service as permanent. The retirement illusion. 401 cas. Retirement plans represent the transfer of retirement security from guaranteed pensions to market-dependent gambling. Workers are forced to bet their future security on stock market performance while paying fees to financial managers. The system ensures that retirement savings flow to Wall Street, where they can be manipulated through market cycles. Economic crashes periodically destroy retirement savings, forcing older workers to continue working and younger workers to increase savings rates. But here's the sophisticated control mechanism. 401k plans create artificial loyalty to capitalism. Workers become psychologically invested in stock market performance because their retirement depends on it. They support policies that benefit corporations rather than workers because their savings are tied to corporate profits. The retirement system also creates age discrimination in employment. Older workers with substantial 401k balances become expensive to employ due to healthcare costs and higher salaries. Companies systematically eliminate older workers, forcing them to live on insufficient retirement savings. The technology trap. Digital dependency technology has become the most sophisticated control mechanism in human history. Every device, every app, Every platform is designed to create psychological and practical dependency while harvesting data and attention. The smartphone addiction engine. Smartphones use variable ratio reinforcement gambling psychology to create addiction. Notifications arrive unpredictably, triggering dopamine responses and compulsive checking behavior. The average person checks their phone 144 times daily, interrupting focus and reinforcing digital dependency. Smartphones enable total surveillance, location, conversations, purchases, social connections. Behavioral patterns. Infrastructure elimination reinforces dependency. No payphones, paper maps, or cash alternatives. Emergency services require phone access. Basic life functions become impossible without smartphones. The platform prison. Social media platforms create psychological dependency through social validation mechanisms. Users become addicted to likes, shares, comments, and follow accounts. Self-worth becomes tied to digital metrics controlled by algorithmic manipulation. The platforms control information flow, determining what users see, when they see it, and how it's framed. This creates reality manipulation, where different users live in completely different information environments while believing they're seeing objective truth. But the real control comes through social pressure. Platform algorithms reward conformity and punish dissent. Users who express unpopular opinions face algorithmic suppression, reducing their reach and social validation. This creates self-censorship and groupthink. Platform dependency also enables economic control. Small businesses depend on social media for customer acquisition. Content creators depend on platforms for income. Professional networking depends on LinkedIn. Platform access becomes essential for economic survival, and platforms can terminate accounts without explanation or appeal. The subscription society. The shift from ownership to subscription creates permanent payment obligations for previously one-time purchases. Software, entertainment, news, fitness, education, and even car features now require monthly payments. Subscription models ensure that consumers never achieve ownership of the tools and content they use. Payments continue forever or access disappears. This creates artificial scarcity and dependency where none previously existed. The subscription economy also enables behavior tracking and control. Every interaction with subscribed services generates data about preferences, habits, and patterns. This data enables psychological manipulation and targeted advertising. But the most sophisticated aspect is subscription bundling. Services become interconnected so that canceling one subscription makes others less valuable. Users become locked into ecosystem dependency that's expensive to exit. The cloud control system cloud storage transforms personal data from private property into hostage assets controlled by technology corporations. Users cannot access their own files without internet connections and corporate cooperation. The cloud system creates vulnerability to surveillance, censorship, and control. Governments can demand access to cloud data without notifying users. Corporations can analyze personal files for advertising and behavioral influence. Account termination results in complete data loss. Cloud dependency also eliminates local technical skills. Users become helpless when internet connections fail or when cloud services experience problems. Basic computer literacy deteriorates as cloud services handle functions users once controlled locally. The geographic prison, spatial control. Modern urban design and land use regulations create physical dependency that makes self-sufficient living nearly impossible while forcing reliance on corporate systems for basic survival needs. The car dependency design. Post-World War II urban planning separated residential from commercial areas while eliminating public transportation. Cars became required for basic life functions. Car ownership costs exceed $400,000 lifetime, forcing continuous labor. Cars enable surveillance through license readers, GPS tracking, and traffic enforcement revenue generation. Car dependency creates social isolation hours daily alone in vehicles rather than community interaction. reducing collective action capability. The zoning law prison. Zoning laws make alternative living arrangements illegal. Multi-generational housing is prohibited. Accessory dwelling units are banned. Small business operation from homes is forbidden. Community gardens are restricted. Zoning creates artificial scarcity of affordable housing by mandating large lot sizes, minimum house sizes, and separation of residential and commercial uses. This forces people into expensive housing arrangements that require dual incomes and mortgage debt. But zoning also prevents self-sufficient communities. Food production is separated from residential areas. Shared resources are prohibited. Community workshops and maker spaces are banned. People cannot create local economies that reduce dependence on corporate systems. Zoning enforcement creates compliance costs that favor large developers over small property owners. Permitting, inspections, and regulatory compliance require legal and architectural expertise that small players cannot afford. The property tax, treadmill property taxes ensure that land ownership never provides true security. Even properties owned outright require continuous cash payments to local governments. Rising assessments and tax rates force continuous income generation. Property tax systems favor wealthy investors who can afford tax payments over middle class families who might otherwise achieve housing security. Tax foreclosure transfers property from individuals to corporations and government entities. The system also prevents rural self-sufficiency. Large plots of undeveloped land carry high tax burdens but generate no income. Small farmers cannot afford property taxes without participating in industrial agriculture or selling to developers. Property taxes create artificial urgency that prevents long-term thinking and planning. People must focus on immediate income generation rather than sustainable development or community building. The building code barrier, building codes, make self-constructed housing illegal. Alternative building methods using natural materials are prohibited. Small houses are banned. Off-grid systems are forbidden. Code compliance requires professional architects, engineers, and contractors. The permitting process creates delays and costs that make housing construction a corporate activity rather than a personal or community skill. Building codes also mandate connection to utility systems. Even people who want to live off-grid must pay connection fees and monthly charges for electricity, water, sewer, and gas services they don't use. The codes create safety standards that are impossibly expensive for individuals to meet but routine for large construction companies. This transfers housing construction from personal control to corporate control. The education programming system. The education system creates psychological dependency by destroying self-confidence, critical thinking, and practical skills while installing obedience and institutional dependence as core personality traits. The factory model programming public education models factory production standardized curricula at predetermined speeds, regardless of individual interests. Creativity and independent thinking are discouraged for compliance and test performance. Students learn to accept authority without question and that their judgment is inferior to institutions. This learned helplessness extends beyond education into life decisions. Grading creates artificial scarcity and competition, ranking students against each other rather than developing personal excellence, creating lifelong insecurity. The credential inflation trap. Educational institutions have created artificial requirements for jobs that historically needed only practical skills. Bachelor's degrees are required for positions that could be learned in weeks. Master's degrees are demanded for management roles. This credential inflation forces young people into college debt while providing little actual job preparation. Employers use degrees as screening mechanisms rather than skill assessment, creating a cartel that forces educational consumption. The system also devalues practical skills and trades. Young people are taught that manual labor is inferior to office work, creating shortages of skilled trades while overproducing college graduates for limited professional positions. Professional licensing extends educational control throughout careers. Continuing education requirements force workers to remain connected to educational institutions and pay ongoing fees for the right to work in their chosen fields. The critical thinking destruction. Modern education emphasizes information consumption rather than analytical skills. Students memorize facts for tests but don't learn to evaluate sources, identify assumptions, or construct logical arguments. The system teaches that knowledge comes from authorities rather than observation and reasoning. Students learn to cite experts rather than think independently. This creates psychological dependency on institutional validation. Standardized testing rewards conformity and punishes creative thinking. Students learn that there are correct answers determined by authorities rather than learning to solve problems through experimentation and innovation. The elimination of practical skills education means students graduate without the ability to build, repair, grow, or create anything useful. They become dependent on specialists for every basic life function. The health system dependency. The medical system creates dependency by treating symptoms rather than causes, medicalizing normal human experiences, and making self-care knowledge unavailable to ordinary people. The chronic disease management model modern. Medicine focuses on managing chronic diseases rather than preventing or curing them. Patients become permanent customers requiring ongoing medication, monitoring, and treatment. Diabetes management generates more revenue than diabetes prevention. Heart disease treatment is more profitable than heart disease reversal. Cancer treatment creates more income than cancer prevention. The system creates artificial dependency by withholding information about lifestyle interventions. That could eliminate many chronic conditions. Patients are told that diseases are genetic, inevitable, or require permanent medication when many conditions could be resolved through diet, exercise, and environmental changes. Medical professionals are trained to prescribe pharmaceutical solutions rather than address root causes. This creates a cycle where medications cause side effects that require additional medications. The mental health medicalization, normal human emotions and responses to difficult circumstances have been redefined as mental illnesses requiring pharmaceutical treatment. Sadness becomes depression, nervousness becomes anxiety disorder, high energy becomes ADHD. The psychiatric system creates dependency by convincing people that their emotional states are brain diseases requiring permanent medication. People lose confidence in their ability to manage emotions or solve problems without pharmaceutical intervention. Mental health treatment focuses on adjusting people to dysfunctional systems rather than addressing the systems that create psychological distress. Workers are medicated for job stress rather than addressing exploitative working conditions. The system also prevents community-based emotional support. Professional therapy replaces family and community relationships. People learn to pay experts rather than developing mutual aid networks. The insurance extortion system health insurance creates artificial scarcity by making medical care unaffordable for people who need it while generating enormous profits for insurance companies who don't provide any medical services. The insurance system incentivizes expensive treatments over preventive care. Emergency procedures are covered while nutritional counseling is not. Surgery is reimbursed while lifestyle medicine is ignored. Insurance dependency also creates job dependency. People remain in unsatisfactory employment to maintain health coverage. This reduces job mobility and worker bargaining power while increasing employer control. The complexity of insurance systems makes healthcare costs incomprehensible to patients. People cannot make informed decisions about treatment costs or value, creating vulnerability to financial exploitation. The surveillance integration. All 5 control systems are integrated through digital surveillance that monitors compliance, predicts behavior, and enables real-time manipulation of choices and opportunities. The social credit system. While China's social credit system receives media attention, Similar systems operate throughout Western countries through corporate rather than government mechanisms. Credit score, digital payment social media and behavioral analysis create comprehensive surveillance. The corporate surveillance system tracks purchases, movements, social connections, online activity, and communication patterns. This data enables prediction and manipulation of individual behavior through targeted advertising, content filtering, and opportunity gatekeeping. Unlike government surveillance, corporate surveillance appears voluntary because people choose to use platforms and services. But the infrastructure has been designed so that participation in modern life requires submission to surveillance. The system also enables collective punishment through algorithmic discrimination. People who live in certain areas, associate with certain people, or express certain views face reduced access to employment, credit, and services. The behavioral modification engine surveillance data feeds machine learning systems that can influence human behavior more effectively than humans can consciously control their own actions. Algorithmic manipulation operates below conscious awareness through carefully timed stimuli and environmental modifications. The systems can predict when people are vulnerable to particular influences and deliver targeted content accordingly. Shopping algorithms know when people are likely to make impulse purchases. Dating apps know when people are lonely. Political content is delivered when people are angry or afraid. Behavioral modification also operates through social pressure. Algorithms determine which posts people see from friends and family, creating an artificial social consensus that influences individual opinions and behavior. The systems create filter bubbles that reinforce existing beliefs while making alternative viewpoints appear fringe or dangerous. This prevents people from accessing information that might help them recognize their situation. The escape mechanisms, what they don't want you to know. Despite the system's sophistication, escape mechanisms exist but require understanding the system completely and making fundamental changes. Financial independence through skills. Develop craftsman skills that create value without institutional intermediation. Plumbing, electrical, mechanical repair, food production. Eliminate debt entirely and minimize cash requirements through self-sufficiency. Technology minimalism, retour digital alternatives, paper maps, physics, cash transactions. Use privacy tools like VPNs when digital technology is necessary. Avoid subscriptions and cloud storage. Community self-reliance. Build local networks for mutual aid, skill sharing, and resource sharing. Create parallel systems, reducing corporate infrastructure dependence. Legal system navigation. Use trusts, LLCs, and constitutional principles for asset protection and reduced government interference. The time factor, why escape becomes harder. The global control system is being rapidly upgraded and integrated. Opportunities for escape that exist today may not exist tomorrow. Several trends are accelerating the closure of escape routes. Digital currency implementation. Central bank digital currencies (CBDCs) will eliminate cash transactions and enable real-time monitoring of all economic activity. Every purchase, every payment, and every economic interaction will be recorded and analyzed. CBDCs will also enable programmable money that can be restricted for specific uses, geographic areas, or time periods. Governments and corporations will be able to control not just how much money people have, but how they can spend it. The transition to digital currency will eliminate the underground economy, barter systems, and cash-based alternatives that currently provide some independence from financial surveillance. Smart city infrastructure. Smart city development creates comprehensive surveillance and control systems integrated into urban infrastructure. Traffic lights, street cameras, facial recognition systems, and environmental sensors will monitor all human activity in urban areas. Smart city systems will also enable real-time behavior modification through dynamic pricing, service restrictions, and mobility controls. People who exhibit problematic behavior will face immediate consequences through automated systems. The integration of smart city technology with digital currency will create comprehensive social control. Systems that make the Chinese social credit system appear primitive by comparison. Artificial intelligence integration. AI systems will automate behavioral analysis, prediction, and manipulation at scales that human operators cannot achieve. Machine learning algorithms will identify dissent, non-compliance, and system resistance before people consciously recognize their own motivations. AI integration will also automate system responses to resistance attempts, legal challenges, financial independence efforts, and community organizing will trigger immediate countermeasures designed to restore compliance. The choice that remains understanding the global prison system creates a choice: accept the system and hope compliance provides security, or recognize it prevents genuine freedom and build alternatives before it's too late. Most choose compliance because they don't understand the system or believe they can benefit from it. The system provides enough comfort that resistance seems unnecessary, but it's designed to eliminate resistance over time. Each generation has fewer independence opportunities than the previous. The global prison represents centuries of social control evolution. Unlike previous systems using obvious force, it operates through manufactured consent and artificial dependency. The bars are invisible, made of debt, digital dependency, and conditioning rather than steel. The guards are algorithms and policies rather than human enforcers. The prison is almost complete. The question is whether enough people will recognize their situation and build alternatives before escape routes close. Every convenience accepted, subscription signed, device depended upon, debt taken makes escape harder and alternatives more impossible. The global prison system is real, sophisticated, comprehensive, and almost finished. But almost isn't finished yet.